Hello, everybody, and welcome to Libromancy, a podcast about the magic of books. I'm your host, Josh, and today I'm going to be talking about Instant Karma by Marissa Meyer. So let's judge the magic of books. Now, first off, I just want to say I did read the second book first, so that's why it might sound a little weird or why they might be airing out of order, but this was a fun book. I like this book. I actually think I really like the second book more, and I think it mostly has to do with just me being who I am, and that I identified a lot more with Jude than with Prudence. That's not to say that I disliked Prudence or I disliked this book at all. I like the themes of this book. It's just that the actual book itself, I have a lot more connections with Jude in the second book than I do with Prudence here. So let's talk about it. This book is all about Prudence. Let's just do a little unspoilery thing. This is a romance book, of course. This is about Prudence. This is where she kind of learn about her family. That's kind of it. I mean, it's a little romance. I can't say too much without spoiling it. I think the writing is good. I think this, if you were to branch away from magical realism as only like a South American kind of thing, then I definitely think this is that magical realism. And that's because magical realism it's a genre. It's a very ill-defined genre in my opinion. And I think culturally or just like normally, like it's changed from what it might have started as. It's just my opinion. I'm not like trying to push it, but so magical realism is when the magic is part of the world, but it's not really an active part, or it's not really the most important part of the story. And I think that this causes it to fit because Prudence does gain a little ability. It helps further the plot along, which magical realism obviously does because it has to, right? Like if it doesn't, then there's no plot to the story. But then they also, lose the power at the end. It's gone, So the magic is not like the overriding factor of the story, though. It just is something there. The story would still take place without the magic. The magic just gives us a little bit more flavor and helps us get more into the world as it is. So let's just get into the book. Well, I'll say one more thing, non-spoilery. As far as like atmosphere goes, the other book, With a Little Luck, had a little bit more of like a nerd feeling. This one has more of like a beach summer kind of feeling to it. And that's not bad. So let's get into the spoilers here. Our main character is Prudence. We've got Quint. We've got Maya. We've got Morgan. We rarely see Morgan at all. And that was kind of, as a character, she kind of felt the most one note where she's just like, hey, I'm here and I'm against animal cruelty. It served more as just an illustration to her point of, hey, you've got this karmic justice power, but what you see is not necessarily the whole story. And I like that was the theme, is that like you can judge people based on what you see in the moment, but like you have to know that judgment is not going to be correct. And that, becomes our major call of the thing, is that every time she tries to use her power for vengeance or, instant bad karma on Quint, that it backfires because according to the universe, well, even according to the scene that he's in and she's calling it on him, he's not really doing anything wrong. He was late to a meeting. That's not malicious. That was, he was late. Now he was late for a really good reason, which adds into his, karmic balance, which of course, that's way in the weeds of what we're talking about here. But I like the book. I like this theme that we don't know what's going on with everybody. We don't know why. Now, I will say one thing. This is going to be way spoiler for the end of the book, but the second they had not the second, but like they had the fundraiser, the beach fundraiser, they had a ton of cash. Everybody was super excited. I was totally with it. And then when they count it and they're like, hey, there's only $300 in here, I was like, oh my gosh, it's that lady who has the new snakeskin boots that Morgan points out specifically. And I feel like Morgan is there basically to call out the snakeskin boots. And she called them out so that she draws them to our attention, which is good. Like this is like if you're Marissa Meyer and you have this villain, right, Shauna, who is stealing the money and making sure the center barely survives for some reason. Like, I just don't get that. But like, in the lack of background checks, come on, do a little background check. Use that Google, like figure out these people. But that's okay. So it's like you have this villain and they buy new shoes. Now, Prudence is not really into shoes as far as we can tell. She's very driven. She's very passionate about moving forward in her life. She wants to excel and, move forward in like school and get good grades, right? She's not going to notice the new shoes. So you have to put Morgan in. Okay, well, if Morgan's going to be at the work center, and then how do we get Morgan out of the way for Prudence to get into the rec center? I call it the rec center, but it's not the rec center. It's the recovery center, the rescue center, right? How do we get her out of the way so that Prudence can come in and it makes it easier for Quint and Prudence to have this alone time to get to know each other better to move forward. Well, the way you do that is you have an accident happen to Morgan. Oh, use Prudence's karmic powers on Morgan, and so now you have to come up with, okay, well, why is she using her karmic powers on her? Oh, she's spray painting a billboard. Well, what was the billboard about? And it explains everything, and it's well done in the book that it flows and it makes sense. But when you look back at it like this, you can see, aha, okay, I see it. But yes, to my point, I called it that it was Shauna the second I saw that. I was a little bit suspicious, not suspicious, but I mean, it was fairly obvious that it was the third act breakup scene when they called her and they're like, hey, do you have anything to explain? And she's like, no. They're like, well, we're missing a bunch of money from our thing. And like, we thought we had more and now it's like $300. And she's like, well, I didn't take it. And Quint's like, well, I saw you with that bag of cash in your house. And she should have been like, okay, well, let me, this is on her. Like, Prudence, my girl Prudence, should have taken that money out the first time he saw it and been like, hey, look at this cool money I got from my dad's thing, right? Like from the pawn shop. And then that would have solved this issue or at least lessened it a little bit. But just, they've been together for a month and a half or 2 months. Like, I would think that he would know that she's not the type of person to do this and give her a little bit of a doubt, a benefit of the doubt, like her mom does not need to give her the benefit of the doubt as the business owner, but like, she should get some of the benefit of the doubt from Quint, who's been crushing on her and spending a lot of time with her and knowing, hey, she's never like asked for money once or done anything with money. There was the one scene where she was kind of going through the money because she was just looking to see, but that's beyond the point here. I also like that realistically it takes her a long time to figure out that her powers have a positive side to them as well, because everybody thinks about karma as something bad. You do something bad comes and happens to you. Rarely do you think of karma as something good happens to you, right? You do something good happens to you now. And I love that we have this theme of Maya finding her necklace and, Prudence realizing, hey, I was wrong about Maya. She may have said something mean in the moment, but it wasn't really mean. It was more realistic. Like, yes, my brother is a little bit of a creeper around her. Not like a big creeper, like a real creeper, but like he is a little obsessed with her. That's normal. And I love that, of course, everything that goes on in the book is so fun. The little romance relationships between Prudence and Quint, how they get together. I love that. I think it's so much fun. It was good. I liked the great date ideas that Quint had, that Quint had. And he takes her to Jaws. He takes her snorkeling. I thought it was so funny that they named him after Jaws. And like, well, they didn't name you after the good sailor because the dog had that name. So they named me after the bad guy in the movie, like everybody hates. And it's like, well, but come on, you named everybody. You named him. It's just funny in the book, and it makes sense. And I loved it. I love the ball, the gala they have at the end, and they confront her, and they're like, "Hey, she's doing this," and it's like the other thing is that it's literally a Google search. Basically reveals some of this history. Well, it's a little more than a Google search, but it's not that involved of a Google search, right? Like, it's a decent search that anybody could do, and they just never found it. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't email or like Google my coworkers all that often to try and see their past, but when I'm hiring, sure, check out Facebook or whatever, like just to see what they're into or what their kind of person they are. But I think that's really kind of everything I have to talk about with this book today. I liked it. I liked the second. Well, I'll talk a little bit why I like the second one more. Obviously, I like the second one a little more because it's more nerd themed and I am more of a nerd. It's more D&D themed, which I am involved in. I don't really go to the beach that often. I don't live near a beach. I don't have Prudence's drive for excellence in school. I mean, I had a decent drive, but not to her level. I love animals. I don't love rescuing animals myself. That's why the book didn't work for me. I think if you like that stuff at all, then this book would really work for you, and that's great. But that is going to wrap up my discussion of Instant Karma by Marissa Meyer. Thanks everybody for listening, and thanks to David Hillowitz for the intro and outro music. If you have any questions or comments, please send them to libromancypod@gmail.com. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. That really helps out a lot. And remember to judge the magic of books.